All right, welcome to Lecture 30, Part C, the last little part of our lecture. We're going to do a little math practice with pH in this part of the video. So basically using this equation, pH is the negative log of hydronium. All right, so with that, let's get to it. All right, so a lot of this is getting used to using your calculator, okay? That's what a lot of it's going to amount to. All right, so let's see. Starting off with, let's do, well, this will be one kind of similar to what you saw at the end of the last video, huh? If I tell you the amount of hydronium ion, you can tell me the pH. pH is just the negative log of hydronium ion. All right, so pH would be the negative log of H3O plus. So if you know the amount of hydronium, you plug that in, and then you got to find the pH. 9.1 times 10 to the minus 4. That's your hydronium in this question. If I take the log of it, and then I reverse the sign, that'll tell me the pH. Now again, I want you to really practice this, so I'm going to tell you the answer here in a minute, but if I was you, I'd be busting out my calculator, making sure I could do this, all right? So again, on my calculator, where'd I put the thing? Oh, it fell on the floor. What I would do first is on my calculator, you type in the number, you hit the log button, and then you'll make it negative. Now, if we do that on this calculator, let me go ahead and do it. So it'll be 9.1 exponent minus 4. I got my calculator, that's what it says there. Can you see that? Yeah, there you go. 9.1 exponent minus 4. And then hit the log button. All right, now it says this. This is what my calculator says. Can you see that? I hope so. And then we hit the plus minus key. When you're all done, you should be getting an answer of 3, a little over 3, 3.04. All right, if you're not getting that, again, you might need some individual help with this because it can be a little tricky figuring out how to use your calculator. All right, okay, so in that first question, I gave you the amount of hydronium ion. We just practiced calculating the pH based on that. Well, anytime we do a math problem in chemistry land, you got to be able to do it the other way. All right. So what if, and this is what this question down here about Drano is about, what if I was to tell you the pH of something and say, hey, can you tell me the amount of hydronium ion? So if I tell you the pH is 11.5 for Drano, can you tell me how much of this stuff is floating around in a bottle of Drano? Can you tell me that number? Can you solve for that? Well, it's going to use the same equation, but I have to say the math is going to be pretty significantly different. All right, so this is again a case where learning to use your calculator, that's kind of what you have to practice, honestly. All right, so let me go ahead and try to work it out, and then let me try to explain a little bit, and then we'll talk about, well, how does this relate to your calculator? So I'm telling you the pH. I am solving for hydronium ions. All right. So I need to move all that stuff that's on the right over to the left so that H3O ends up by itself. So the first thing I'm going to move over to the left is the minus sign. So the way you can do that, like in math class, they might have told you, well, if you want to move a minus sign to the other side, you just multiply by -1. You'll end up with negative 11.5 equals the log of hydronium. All right. If that didn't quite make sense, hey, just take the negative sign, throw it on the left. You're fine. That's all I did. Okay. Then what you do is I still have a little problem. I am solving for H3O. In front of H3O on the right-hand side, it says LOG. So you got to get rid of LOG. So in math class, if there was a time sign and you're trying to move something to the other side, you divide. You do the opposite. The opposite of multiplying, you divide. That makes stuff go to the other side of an equation. If there was a plus sign, you would do the opposite of adding. To get it to go to the other side, you would like subtract from both sides. So in this case, I need to get LOG to the opposite side. So what is the opposite of LOG? It's not multiplying or dividing. It's not adding and subtracting. The opposite of log is called the antilog, or sometimes you'll see it on your calculator. It'll say 10 to the x. So 10 to the x destroys, cancels out log. It's the opposite. All right. So what'll happen, and I'll show you how to do this on your calculator in just a minute, I promise. The way that we're going to get rid of log is you're going to do 10 to the x, and 10 to the x will cancel out log. So shoot, I kind of ran out of room here. I'll put it up here. This is what you'll end up with. 10 to the negative 11.5 equals the amount of hydronium ion. So I made 10 to the x on both sides. On the right-hand side, all that happened there was it got rid of log. All right. If you're not sure about this, I can talk to you about it more in the Zoom session because we haven't done log stuff yet, have we, this semester? We only do it the last week. How about that for a surprise, huh? Okay. Now, the tricky part, maybe, is actually getting this into your calculator. So let me tell you how to do it on my calculator, and then you could try it on yours, okay? So I need to enter this on my calculator to see what the actual number is when I do that. What is the actual amount of hydronium ion? So on my calculator, the way I would enter this is I would actually type in 11.5. Then I need to make it negative. So there's a plus minus key to do that. All right, I know this is not very helpful probably, but let me go ahead and do it. So you type in 11.5. Oh, shoot, I hit the wrong button. 11.5, right? Yeah, 11.5. It says 11.5 on the screen. And then you hit the plus minus key. There's probably a plus minus key on your calculator, even if you own a different calculator than me, guys. So now it actually says negative 11 on the screen. Cool. Now we've got to do 10. We got to raise that to 10 to that number. So on your calculator, there's going to be a button. And again, everybody's is different. I wish I could say it's going to look like this. But on most of them, it's going to say 10 to the x. Now, on this particular calculator, it is actually the second function of log. So I don't know. I'm going to hold this up. Do you see where it says log and then right above it, it says 10 to the x? That's the button I'm talking about. So on my calculator, I actually do second log. That'll be 10 to the x. That'll get me that 10 to the x button. Let's do it. So I got it in my calculator. Still says negative 11.5. Second, can you see that? Second log. Did your calculator do anything? This is what it should say. You should, gosh, I really need a little more room. You should be getting 3.16 times 10 to the minus 12. That should be the answer. 3.16 times 10 to the minus 12. All right. Unfortunately, everybody's got different calculators. So if what I just showed you didn't work, if you're like, I got an error message or something, there is a chance you need to do it the other way. So on my calculator, I enter the number, and then I make sure it's negative, and then I hit 10 to the x. Some of you guys and gals out there, you're going to have to do it the other way. If that didn't work, try it this way. Try hitting the button first, and then typing in the number afterwards, like the negative and the number afterwards. See if that works for you. I hope it does. If not, let me know. I'll help you out. All right, so that's pretty much what we're going to practice. Now, just watching some old man do chemistry, I don't know, does that do you any good? You're going to have to practice for this to make sense. So let's flip over and let's see. Maybe I'll show you one more, or maybe I'll just let's see, have you try one. Let's see what we got. All right, let me see. All right, so I guess we're just going to practice, huh? Let's just make sure you and your calculator are getting along. Are you and your calculator talking to each other correctly? Or are you in a bad relationship with your calculator? Let's find out. All right, so number one, in a glass of wine, the amount of hydronium ions is 6.7 times 10 to the minus 3. What's the pH? What is the pH? All right, so again, honestly, the hard part is just making sure you know how to use your calculator. I am telling you the amount of hydronium ions. You know this number. You are solving for pH. Work it out. Let's make sure you guys get along, you and your calculator. Work it out. What do you come up with? What is the pH? Oh, well, let's see what it should be. All right, so I just want to write stuff out just so you can see, right? I'm just putting that number in for the pH. All right, and then for the amount of hydronium, I should say. And then I'm going to solve for the pH. So on my calculator, the way I do that, type in that number, 6.7 EE -3. Hit that log button. And then you should have hit the plus minus sign. Or, you can even just reverse the sign in your head if you want. If you did it correctly, if you and your calculator are talking to each other and understanding each other, you should have gotten an answer of, I think it's 2.17. Now, I just noticed I might need to double check that because I hadn't worked that out in a while. Let's just confirm my notes are right. Log. Yeah, 2.17. Okay, 2.17. All right. One more. Man, watch an old man do chemistry. That's no good. You got to do it. All right, let's try one more. All right. In soap, the pH of soap is 11.2. What is the amount of hydronium ion in soap? There is a second part. We'll talk about that in a minute. All right, let's just worry about the first part. I am telling you the pH. Can you tell me, do you know how to do this on your calculator? How do you find the amount of hydronium? You know this number. Work it out. What do you come up with? Okay, well, let's see if you got it right. All right, so the pH is 11.2. I'm solving for hydronium. Move that negative sign to the other side. So now you got this. And then get rid of your log. How do you get rid of your log? 10 to the x. That's how you get rid of log. Oh, that cancels. So the amount of hydronium ion equals this. It equals 10 to the negative 11.2. You might have noticed this. If this is like rearranging is a little, I don't know, a little difficult or a little time consuming for you, you might notice that this is always true. The amount of hydronium will always just be 10 to the negative pH. That's how it always works out. All right, so it's always going to be just 10 to the negative whatever the pH is. All right, well, great. Can you get it in your calculator? I hope. Let's see what I got. So on my calculator, again, I type in the number, 11.2. Beautiful. Make it negative. Wherever. There we go. And then you do 10 to the x. Antilog is what it's called. It's the second function of log. If you and your calculator talked correctly, you should be getting this. Let me check my notes. Yeah, that's what I got. You should be getting this answer. All right, it should have turned out to be 6.31, rounding a little bit, times 10 to the minus 12. All right, beautiful. All right, now there was another part to this question, just to make sure you kind of remember this. And actually, maybe this one part I'll just do for you, huh? You've been doing a lot in this video. All right, let me also remind you, all this stuff, pH and hydronium, don't forget about Mr. Hydroxide. So if I asked you how much hydroxide is in this soap, I'm going to have to erase this because I don't have a lot of room. I'll use this spot. Don't forget that other equation we learned back in part A, I guess it was, wasn't it? Hydronium times hydroxide makes 10 to the minus 14. So if you are asked the amount of OH, you can do that. You really need to know the amount of hydronium first. Hey, we just found it. So you put that in for the amount of hydronium. And then you can solve for the amount of hydroxide. And you can tell me how much of the other fellas in this soap, all right? So just to remind you, oh, we haven't done this in a while. Yeah, you divide to get OH by itself. And if you work it out, you should come up with, oh man, I'm sorry, my notes got a little messy in this part. This cancels. This is what you come up with. I should have probably done this on a different slide, but I didn't. Too late now, huh? This is what you would come up with. All right. Now, again, if you work it out, you type this thing in your calculator, you might want to just do it to make sure you know how to do the math. You should come up with this. The amount of OH turns out to be 0.00188. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm a little all over the place in this one, but hopefully you can follow that. All right, if not, hey, rewind it, watch it again. All right, so that is pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions, you can always email me. We're done with acids and bases. Yay for us. We'll practice this in our Zoom times just to make sure you really got it figured out. And if you can't wait that long to ask me some questions, hey man, just send me an email or have my office hours. I'll be glad to talk to you. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're surviving the end of the semester. I hope you're not too stressed out with all your classes. I know it's a lot. Hang in there, and I will see you soon. I am here to help you. Just let me know how I can. Bye-bye for now.